get this thing working. I'll be on that B sheet. Exactly. What you trying to reconnect to? Okay, well. Okay, well. All right. All right, so get this party started. I don't even know what I did with the tablet. Why you keep trying to say you reconnected? You're throwing me off with that and make me uncomfortable. Streamlabs. All right. No, be patient with me. Streamlabs tripping. It keep popping up trying to reconnect on my screen, and I don't know what that means because when I check, that seems to be live. You know, corn soup. Let me check on one of my other. Let's see. If you're there, let me know. You know, Streamlabs be streamlining. Okay, so now it's gonna act fully crazy. Forgive me, my people. We normally do a little better than that. It's been that kind of week, man. Between all that driving I did on Tuesday and being all sluggish. Okay. Sluggish. Well, this says I'm loud. I don't know what's going on with sluggish. I don't know what's going on with sluggish. Oh God, I'm laughing at myself because you know, when you hear yourself talk, you always sound interesting. Hold on. All right, well, we're gonna get this party started and cut off some of these lights. Yeah, I got a birthday coming up soon, and I ain't even planning nothing to do. I think I just want to go eat some food. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know, because I told you Streamlabs keep on saying, I don't know what's going on, but it's trying to reconnect. Maybe it's trying to reconnect on Twitch because it seems to be live on Facebooks. And I ain't do Instagram. I need to do Instagram on mobile, don't you think? Okay, I got the new light in action too. And this wow. No lie. It changed the game a little bit. Okay. Okay, cool. No plumber's crack. Embarrassing my family. Alright. Here we go. Oh. Hold on, we gotta hit the backlight. I forgot to charge my other phone. So it's on the charger when I'm trying to do that other light. So we gotta do a little extra. Okay. Yeah, let's roll with it. Roll with Billy. Slide that back so I don't fall off. Okay. You see? You can already tell the difference, right? But man, I ain't even gonna lie to you. This like got hella different I don't even know what to call it. But RBG settings, I guess. I feel like, man, this is so right, man. I thought that thing was behind me. What you think? Oh, hell no. I'm blind us all and go with a flashing light. That's for something like Fahrenheit 451. So I wanted to mess with turn that down some. Let's see. Yeah, so you see how bright that little thing is. It's gonna be blinding me. Blinding me. Oh man. Let me pull out my RAM blanket so I can keep reminding y'all. You see, it helps a bunch. Oh, word? See? Yeah, it helps a bunch. That man. Oh, I see. Now I can see your comments. So that's why I was tripping. So look, man. Okay. I don't even know if you can see all the settings. I don't want to show them that because it's gonna mess around and blind you. But look at my reflection. Oh no, I ain't about to start singing unless I'm gonna sing. You know what I'm about to sing. The sun come out tomorrow. Wipe away the cobwebs and the sorrows till there's none. So if you don't know, that's a joke from this little girl. I used to be a teacher in one of my past lives. Pre-K teacher at that. And there's a little girl in my class who used to be Orphan Annie. And you know what? This is the one that was speaking to me earlier and Angry Red, but I think we're gonna roll with this rainbow. Okay. Right. Okay, good. I hope it's stuck in your head all night too. Because you the one brought up singing, because I wasn't even thinking about singing at all. I was thinking about being cool. But no. Somebody's like, we want to hear you sing. So I had to hit you with that I almost said the little girl's name. But she was a child then. I doubt she's a child now because I'm getting up there in days and stuff. So I doubt she's a child now. Yeah. I'm saying I don't feel like I like this light over here. I'm sorry if I'm me taking all this time. Oh no. Yeah. But yeah, I'll be alright. Da, da, da. Hey. I didn't even realize it got that bright. I never used it that bright. Ever. Ever. Yeah. I'm feeling that. Going with the neon. All right. Now I'm about to get this party started because I've been making all this, man. What? When do we get live chat? Huh? Hey, listen. You probably gonna have to submit a support ticket with Streamlab. You hear me? And they are going to take care of that. Mm-hmm. But you got live chat right now. Everybody can see you. If they on Facebook or Twitch, nah, I told you I don't know why I hadn't done Instagram mobile yet. Yeah, I was trying to make sure I get it right. On my desktop first, you know. We be building the plane while we flying it. I don't feel like I drank enough water this week. I'm gonna work on it. Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna work on it. Or I don't know. I may just try another streaming system. Because I see what Streamlabs does. And it's interesting. All right, so we are on, what is this? Scorched corn soup. What happened? Pollux held my bandaged hand. He poked at the bandage. I hardly wanted to tell him that I was a mad dog biting myself for sympathy. Ow! Oh God, I'm sorry. I bit my own hand. Again? Oh my girl. He lifted my hand to his lips and kissed the bandage. It was the Finding Nemo bandage from the bottom of the bandage drawer. Poor little Nemo, said Pollux. I hugged him tightly and he took a cue, held me and stroked my hair. What's this all about? I quickly filled Pollux in on Kateri's vexing news about her mother's body. He went still, and when he looked into my face, his eyes were wide. Beside the ghost, Pollux had an extreme aversion to anything connected with death. He also has a fixed views on the afterlife. He is certain that excuse me. He is where we at? Okay. He is certain that after we die, we get whatever heaven we believe in. And he has constructed a complex world to come. I haven't, but the one he believes in includes me. So I'm covered. His assurance in this matter gives me a surprising amount of peace. He had barely begun to react to the news, however, when Jackie knocked. I went to the door. Maybe I looked annoyed or distressed. Was this the night? Pollux called out. I'm making your scorched corn soup recipe, remember? I pulled her in and told her everything I just told Pollux. Her dog, Droogie, followed. She was lumbering, lazy, deeply affectionate brown Rottweiler poodle husky mixed guide dog of mutt. Jackie hauled in a large sack. A friend of hers had finished processing his wild rice or manoomin, and the bag was for us. The rice was nicely clean, rich green brown. I plunged my unbandaged hand into the bag. The feeling of the rice, the cool, lakey smell was calming. We took some out and admired the length of the grains. Native people around here have a specific ferocity about wild rice. I've seen faces harden when tame paddy rice, the uniformly brown, commercially grown rice, is mentioned called wild rice or served under false pretenses. People get into fights over it. Real wild rice is grown wild, harvested by native people, and tastes like the lake it comes from. Okay? This is the good stuff. I sealed the bag, already feeling better. When I offered to pay, Jackie said it was a perk. Bookstore perks are random. One time, the bookstore bought a farm-raised lamb, and we had to divide it up into tiny chops and shanks. Another time, it was homemade pickles. Jackie's dog disliked wooden floors. Drury loves our house because the rug started right at the front door, and there's never any danger of finding herself trapped or surrounded by a sea of floor because the rugs run all through the house. So Drugy had entered happily, and now she assumed an alert down sit watching us. She followed our conversations with her eyes, interested in the tone of our voices, perhaps waiting for one of us to drop a string of words she knew. Drugy has a large vocabulary. Okay, cool. For the past year, Pollux has been perfecting my favorite soup of those that saved me. Is corn soup. First, he caramelizes fresh cut sweet corn, toasting it slowly in a heavy pan, adding onions, then cubed potatoes tossed lightly in butter to a set crisp. He adds all of this garlicky chicken broth and shaved carrots and cannelli beans and fresh dill and parsley, a dash of cayenne, and heavy cream. The scent is making me delirious. This sounds great. This sounds like I might need to make that. Write that down. I'm gonna read that to you again. Live chat. Since you want live chat, let me put you to work. It is corn, onions, potatoes, broth, carrots, cannelli beans, dill, parsley, cayenne, and heavy cream. I can definitely make that. That deal. That's gonna be interesting. I have to talk about Flora some more, I said. Jackie and her dog cocked their heads up at the same angle, making the same expression. The effect was comical, but I didn't laugh. Go ahead, said Jackie. A while ago you said there was supposed to be an autopsy. I thought it was a stroke. No, it wasn't her heart. She had no heart, said Jackie. That's messed up. Hard words, I said after a moment. I begged her to return something very important, Jackie said. Actually, it belonged to Asina. She refused. It seemed unlike Jackie to hold a grudge against a dead person. No autopsy, huh? Jackie muttered. She looked at me and frowned. What are you going to tell me about Flora? I told Jackie more about how Katuri got her ashes back, but then how Flora's actual body turned up. So they weren't her ashes, obviously. Jackie nodded. Surprisingly, she was not surprised. She folded her arms, stared from under her eyebrow at her dog, what? Who gave her a long look in return, and then they sank down, head on paw. Jackie looked so forbidding that I didn't feel like breaking her into her thoughts. At last, though, she spoke. I thought it was too simple. Now I gaped at her. Really? Too simple? It already felt too complicated. My head began to ache. Some people are slippery, Jackie went on. They're difficult to deal with in the after death. They don't behave like dead people. They're they are dead resistors. I took a deep breath. So there was an explanation. My thoughts expanded in such relief that when she immediately moved on to talk further about the wild rice and Pollock's call from the kitchen, I didn't ask questions. I just enjoyed feeling sane. Wine, soup, butter, bread, salad. Later, Jackie said that the scorched corn had attained perfection and she had to go home. Her teenage granddaughter had a girlfriend over. They were studying, but said Jackie, they needed her because she was an irksome yet comical, reassuring presence. Probably like me. I know how to get on people's nerves. I'm still making sure that last comment is something about live chat. Okay. Oh yeah. Uh-oh, they're texting. Making ramen again? I've got to get back before they burn the pot. Infuriatingly, she up and left. After Jackie was gone, I decided there was only therapy possible would be to put the only therapy possible would be to put on my blue rubber gloves and do the dishes. I slipped my hands in super hot water and scrubbed. I used lots of lavender scented dish soap because this is my job when Pollux cooks. I have decided to make the chore more sensual, which may seem absurd when applied to scrubbing pots. But Pollux likes to put his arms around me when I stand in the foam and steam at the sink. That's that scent. She be messing with him. And it's funny because, when I be doing those live readings, I told people, those people who aren't in one-on-one relationships and they still are passionate people and need to release their passionate energy, start making normal tasks and normal things a little more passionate. So she may read washing dishes sexy. I normally say like reading a book but I guess it could be washing dishes. Who am I to judge? Hey baby, he breathed in my head. Your rubber gloves are so sexy. You're interesting, I said, but not the way you think. I turned around, flicked water off my stubby blue fingers. Is that a leer? Do you want it to be? I keep reading about men's leers. They're always leering in books. I know that's right. We're always leering in real life, too. That's ironic. And most people don't even pick up on that. We talk about why you always looking at why you looking at me like that, man. Just be leering, even in books. I guess that's what we was talking about. Well, when I was all over the place on Tuesday. And we was talking about the application of knowledge and the application of what we know about the opposite gender. Like dudes being upset with women being emotional and women being upset with men because they poor communicators. Cool. I've always wondered what a leer looks like. Maybe you should take your gloves off. Then I'll give you a leer. I think you're leering right now. Quit leering at me. It's just an expression, said Pollux. Expression of what? Hope. A sad, manly sort of hope. Sad for sure. Anyway, I've always wanted a man who would not express his lust on his face, but use his hands instead. Like this? More like this. Oh. And later, would you take the gloves off? Would you take the gloves off now, please? Are you sure? God, wait. Okay, leave them on. And still later, I burrow into the pillows, comfortable by Pollux. I shape myself around him. The agitations of the day, Katari's strange behavior, the dreadful persistence of Flora, those questions and the book, always now the book. These are in my thoughts. Then I felt it. The earth held its breath. There was a slow release and a soft down shifting silence. I turned my lamp off, and my thoughts dimmed. It was starting to snow. At last, the pure and fragile snow was falling upon us, separating off the air from the dirt, the living from the dead, the reader from the book. And we gotta still get some of that corn soup. I'm jealous. I ain't even tripping. I am tripping because I want some corn soup. What you doing, man? You can't no corn soup. Hold on, I'm sorry for the pause. Told you I don't feel like I drank enough water this week, so my body is telling me I feel dry. Oh, excuse me. This one, I guess the next section of the book is called Solstice Fire. Hedda. Hetta. Hedda. Okay. Pollux drove to the airport to fetch Hedda. And while he was gone, I whipped up a batch of oatmeal cookies. You know what? I've been thinking about oatmeal cookies. So I think I am going to make them. They've been on my mind. I've been wanting oatmeal, cranberry, and white chocolate. You see my greedy butt over here fantasizing? Dang, then I thought about that German. I don't know. I've been thinking about cookies lately, so cookies might win because I'm a cookie monster more than anything. I love cake, but I love cookies. Cookies! Whipped up makes me sound like a cookie expert. The truth is, the only thing I did not do in the kitchen is bake. I consulted a batch of Quaker oatmeal box, squinted, frowned, tried to smash cold butter, poured the oats on my feet, and put double or maybe triple brown sugar in the bowl. We had no raisins, so I used dried cranberries. Cranberries be jumping in there. And a chipped prehistoric bag of white chocolate. Oh my God. That's what I just said I wanted. Oh God. And that's what she wound up making too. So a prehistoric bag of white chocolate chips out the freezer. I threw the frozen chips in the bowl, then realized some were stuck in the clumps. I had to use a hammer on them. Oh well. I started the oven, spooned the cookie dough onto the cookie sheet, pinching and poking at the dough mounds to make uniform sizes. I slid the cookies into the oven. Then I sat down to wait. About 5 minutes in, I set the timer. I wanted to pour myself a glass of wine, but I didn't want Heather to get a whiff of my breath and think I was a lush. I just sat there staring at nothing in dread. To be haunted and also have Heather in the house seemed an unfair stroke of ill fortune, a joke, and I, plaything of the fates, seemed destined for all sorts of unpleasant visitations. I called Jackie, who knew my history with Hedda. Bozo teacher. Uh-oh. You always call me teacher when there's something wrong. You got me. I'm sitting here waiting for Pollux to pick up Hedda. You know, for winter solstice, which she celebrates instead of Christmas. Solstice is the day after tomorrow. The 21st, right? I whipped up a batch of cookies. Are they in the oven? Yes. Did you set the timer? Of course. Don't of course me. Remember the time you set the oven on fire? Yes. Now I know you put okay. Now I know you put brandy in the fruit cake after you broil it. Okay. Eh, Bake it. Okay. I'm not much of a baker, but I've learned that much. It wasn't a question of the timer. Never mind. How may I help you? Talk me down. Silence. At last she said, your reaction is perfectly appropriate, so why should I talk you out of it? Head is a monster. Well, I will amend that. She sometimes can be a little much. A little much? I laugh. Predictions? She will say something sarcastic about your cookies within, 3 minutes of walking in the door. A sure bet. She will be dressed in something skin tight, covered by something transparent. Noted. She would talk only about herself, never asking about you. Of course, she'll be sweet to her father in order to get money. That's always a painful watch. We fell silent. Let's start laughing again, she said. There's nothing funny. I can't take it. All right, let's be philosophical. You have Pollux. You love him. He loves you. Rare. She's the fly in the ointment. And by the way, what an odd figure of speech. Just a second. I'll look it up in my slang dictionary. I wonder what that fly in the ointment is too. Nothing's a coincidence. You're right. I was just thinking about that. So I told you I'm a cookie monster. So you know them cookies is getting made. I'm making them this weekend. So I will be eating cookies come my birthday. Oh man, I might. Woo! I got some work to do tomorrow, so I don't think I'm doing tomorrow. But bet game, they will be done this weekend. Ooh, excuse me. I heard her put the phone down and her footsteps squeaking away on her old wooden floor. In order to get the points in the carceral system, I'd attend a Bible study group. Okay. I practically memorized the King James, so I already know it was ecclesiastic. What? I can't never say that. 10:1. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth stinking savior. What? Okay. Ecclesiastics. Whatever. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth stinking savor. That's why I don't mess with King James. Don't get me wrong. This made me think of my cookies. Remember that thing we was talking about? These things be so ethnic. You can't even read them. English, I don't know. I be struggling sometimes. Don't get me wrong. Where we at? This made me think of my cookies. They were ready, sent them forth heavenly savor. I put the phone down and rushed to the oven to take them out. I'm confused about this phone. And oh, they were perfect. I set the pan on a rack to cool. Wait, I'm going to say that again because again it makes me sound like I know how to bake. I set the pan on a rack to cool. When I picked up the phone again, the line had gone dead. I still felt triumph. Maybe I can do anything. Maybe I'll take up knitting. I mused. Or learn to play the recorder. Good luck. Maybe I will eat a cookie. I picked up one, broke off a bit, let it cool down a little more, then popped it in my mouth. My teeth ached before my sense of taste kicked in. Triple sugar, damn. But I swallowed the bite anyway because I heard Pollux drive up. I wanted to appear welcoming, so I rushed to the door and opened it. As I waved, I realized I should have scraped the cookies off the pan into the garbage. Too late. And here came too much. The two of them emerged from the car. Pollux eyed me from the driver's door, gave me a feeble wave that sank my heart like an iron ball. Something extra was up. Head had gotten out the passenger's door and was leaning into the back seat. Before I could take a breath, she turned around. She had lifted a sort of basket from the back seat, and now she hid it in the crook of her arm as she came up the walk. I welcomed her in and saw with suspicion that she'd used a baby carrier to haul in. I assumed some sort of contraband. But then she pushed the blanket off the carrier and revealed a bundle shaped like, no, it was an actual baby. My brain froze. I nearly shrieked, but the sugar closed my throat. I choked, coughed. My eyes teared up. Thus, a head turned. My glistening eyes and the tears slid down my cheeks, gave her reason to think I was moved. Wow, Tukey, thought you were badass. You've gone all mushy, she sneered. But her sneer was half-hearted, and this comment was so mild and toothless that I glanced at her in surprise. She had removed her heavy silver septum ring and was only wearing one pair of earrings. A moment later, she said, "Are those cookies? It smells like someone's trying to act all maternal," speaking as the only person here who had a baby using her own body, I'd say. Hedda walked over to the cookies, picked up one, and took a huge bite, then another. Her face glowed with surprise. That you succeeded. These are delicious. She grabbed two more cookies, informing us that she was nursing and needed sustenance. Pollux went to the refrigerator for milk. You need milk to make milk, right? I could feel his thought. I guess that is 1+1. But come on, man. He filled the glass and brought it to his daughter. Had her sat down, still munching, and unveiled the wonder in her arms. I peered at an alarmingly new baby. I couldn't remember when I seen one so tiny. He had a marvelous thatch of dark brown hair. His features were bold, I thought, for a baby. But what do I know? He seemed to have a lot of hair for a baby. I said so. Yes, he does, said Hedda dully. She rewrapped the baby tightly and set him up on her lap to admire. His father has such thick hair. I looked at Pollux. He twitched his lip and raised his eyebrow, thereby telling me he had no idea who the father was, hadn't yet asked, or hadn't yet gotten an answer. As I am Tukey, I immediately jumped right in on the mention. I tried to make my comment into a compliment and query. I was also uncharacteristically hospitable. He must be pretty special, the guy with the gray hair. Is he coming too? There's plenty of room. What was this? Hedda's looking at me with an expression I had never seen cross her face. Her eyes were warm, lighted up specially for me. I looked at her more closely. Maybe it was smudged eyeliner or the wonder of sugar. If only I'd known. The hard edges of geometric tattoos on her hand softened as she stroked and rocked the tiny little bundle with slight jiggle of her legs. There was also about her a sense of both fatigue and joy. There was also melancholy. I'd never seen her feeling so openly displayed, except for, of course, rage, cynicism, resentment, and so on. Everything about her was altered. Even her strictly tended details. Perhaps caring for a baby gave her no time to suffuse her hair with product, for it fell unnaturally to one side in a glamorous sweep, the ends hennaed to a soft orange. As much as seeing the baby, her next words shocked me. Thank you, she said, and then flooring me completely. How are you, Tookie? What's happening? Later, after Hedda devoured a turkey Reuben and a bowl of ginger ice cream, the baby began to stir and she made her way to the back bedroom she always used, ordinarily the office space for Pollux. I hauled a large duffel bag along behind her, and she entered the room. She sighed and said, It's good to be home. I looked over my shoulder at Pollux and pretended to bang my head in amazement. Again, I had really heard this. He shrugged suspiciously and walked away. A second later, I asked the question I should have asked in the beginning. I suppose you told your father, but I was so excited I forgot to ask. What is your baby's name? Jarvis, she said. Name for his great grandfather. It's a classic, I said. It was also a very adult name. Hard to pin on a baby. I know, right? Your baby, your name Jarvis. That's a man's name. Like ain't no 1-year-old Jarvis. Jarvis got a job. Jarvis got a baby. What you talking about? Oh my God. Yeah, that's a man's name. That's like when you see little girls named Brenda. Gladys got them grown names. Like, how old you little girl? Gladys. That's a grown name. I'm sorry. I stood awkwardly in the doorway, nodding and trying to look affable. Hedda asked me if I would hold the baby while she got ready for bed. When I told her I didn't know how to hold a baby, she arranged my arms, gave me the baby anyway. She went in the bathroom, and there we were, Jarvis and me. I was nervous, intensely so, trying to control my ragged breath, conscious of how I'd hunched over in a way that seemed unnatural. I heard the shower running. Hedda took such long showers that she always used up all the hot water. Knowing I would be holding Jarvis for a long time, I tried to unhunch myself and sit down. Sorry, little fellow. I whispered, shifting my weight. Jarvis opened one tiny, dark, defiant eye. He stared hard at me without cracking a smile, but without crying either. What a cool character, I thought. He was studying me. I was unnerved by this, but I was also intrigued to have such a finely modeled intelligence in my arms. Maybe he did have a bit of dignity of a Jarvis. Let me say without reserve, Jarvis was exquisite. He was what? 3 weeks old? He hadn't plumped out. His features were drawn with the 003 micron marker. The distinct curve of his upper lip, the swoop of his eyebrow, so fine. The point of his nose was impossibly aristocratic. Yeah, precious for a baby, I thought, uncertain. This was the first baby I had ever been privileged to study. He didn't blink like the leader of a prison gang. Jesus Christ. He didn't change his expression. So the study was mutual. He stared whole through me. He saw straight into my heart and didn't seem to care that it was riddled with cowardice, hubris, stupidity, regret. Those things mean nothing to him. He saw that what was left of my heart was good and loving. He trusted me not to scare him, not to drop him. I blinked to keep the raw tears back. He became restless and his face squeezed shut, alarming me. I felt my arms move automatically and I realized that I was rocking him. Not with big tookie swings, but tiny movements to suit his needs. His face uncreased and his eyes drooped shut. He was sleeping again, making kitten noises. How much could my heart stand? Much more, apparently, as Hedda's shower was just beginning. Later, still in the middle of the night, in fact, I lay awake listening to high disconsolate squalls from below. Hedda had told me that the baby's father was originally from Minneapolis, or a suburb. The baby's what? And that he was already in the cities. He would live at first with his parents, but he had an apartment already picked out. He put down a deposit. It was even close by in the part of the city bought up by multinational development corporations. They were building giant blocks of expensive apartments and condos and not replacing the trees they killed. Our city was ever more boring, treeless, generic, but I become fond of this city anyway via suit. I'm loyal. Hedda said the apartment they'd move into was behind one of the new boxes near Hennepin on the side street of the four on the side street in a fourplex. They would only have one roommate who was cool with the baby. We'd meet Jarvis' father soon, she said. He just had to finish his book. She winked and refused to tell us his name. He's a writer? Hedda nodded. A famous writer? Not yet. He's writing a novel. So there's a plot? Sort of. Hedda smiled at the baby and shook her hair. Young man meets girl with a piercing while tattooing her hands. They fall madly in love. She becomes pregnant, has his baby, which they sort of keep a secret from her family until at last she brings the baby home for solace. Autofiction? No, he can't stand that stuff. It's hard to describe his book. I don't think there's a category that fits it. She waved her ornate hands and laughed, the low musical burbling laugh that used to seem incongruous, coming from the forbidding tigeress girl she was, but perfectly fitting for the young mother she had become. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna drink this water. Pollock and I, December 21st. Pollock and I are phobic about the seasons of good cheer. We have an aversion to red and green decorations, carols piped into the streets, though not as much as the colored lights and the frosted cookies. People actually come around caroling in this neighborhood, and if we hear them, We turn off the lights and hide. The only way that we are comfortable with this holiday is sitting in front of the fire, exchanging gifts. We agree, gifts are nice. And special food, we'll eat that. We're cool with celebrating the solstice, the solstice, and excuse me, all the short day long. In fact, I have liked to, but those of us who work in retail bear the onslaught of the season and ride the wave. I was exhausted on solstice night. I was prepared to put my feet up after work and accept sympathy. However, I was walked home along the crunchy snow. I was flooded with tenderness. Baby Jarvis was at our house, and I couldn't wait to hold him. I wondered how he progressed that day. If his fingernails had grown, how far his eyes could focus, if he was seeing the world in color, if his eyes had subtly darkened, if there was any way that he could possibly smile. Heather was wearing the baby she had as she danced. What? Okay. Heather was wearing the baby as she danced around the room. She was playing old LPs from Pollock's collection. Prince albums were scattered around the turntable. One was propped up. Prince in his original beauty. I put my hand, what? I put my hand to my heart like I was pledging allegiance, maybe to everything in our home. There was a delicious scent. Pollock's was browning chunks of squash with onions and garlic. Maybe he would make some sort of spicy curry. I took my coat off and began to dance, whirling and punching the air. I'm a lousy dancer, maybe dangerous, but Hedda called out to encourage, not to mock. I spun like a pinwheel and bunny hopped until my face flushed. When my heart was beating like crazy, I sat down laughing. Hedda unlatched the baby carrier and put Jarvis in my arm. You can call him Cubby, she said. Dad nicknamed him. Sometimes Pollock's diplomatic skills amazes me because he knew Jarvis is too manly for a baby. Man, we can't just be going around calling this little man Jarvis. He just went ahead and gave him a nickname. So smart. Go ahead and kill all the drama. Hey, that is right. It really, the dangerous dancer is wildly hilarious. It really made me think about Tommy Davidson. He got a stand up where he was talking about white people. He like, they say white people can't dance. He's like the white people can dance. They dance freestyles. He like, so the first thing that popped in my mind is like she said she's a lousy dancer. No, you're not a lousy dancer. You're a great freestyle dancer. That's crazy. Oh my God, man. Oh God. However, I found that I was stuck on the name Jarvis now. Holding him in the crook of my elbow, I put my feet on the stool and sank back into the pillows. Hedda went to the kitchen to help or just encourage her father. I watched the baby for as long as I could, then banked my arms with the rolled blanket, then closed my eyes. How could I possibly have stepped into such a golden life? Later on, we made a small solstice fire. We usually make the fire outdoors, but because of Jarvis, we stayed in and used the fireplace. Hedda laid the fire using birch bark and strips of kindling. Nothing made by humans could touch the pagan fire. What? Nothing made by humans can touch the pagan fire, she said. Her fire was expert, caught easily, and blazed cheerfully upward. I asked if Pollux had taught her the Potawatomi way to make a fire. He taught me to make a one match fire in a driving rain, she said. What? We got massively soaked, but we had a fire to dry us out. The pleasant crackle of the small branches and pine cones she had used settled into the comfortable lapping as the fire took the logs. I wondered what sort of solstice ritual Pinsterman was observing. I texted her. She answered. I usually have interdimensional sex. I'm sorry. Just I usually have interdimensional sex on the solstice, but cranky ass is still sucking. She said. She wrote. That must mean they must be on shrooms. Do you know what? That might be crazy. If you was on a trip Maybe that's what she means, interdimensional sex. I guess this was her new boyfriend, but I didn't ask. I'm having a premonition, she wrote. That's nice. I signed off. I wasn't altogether glad I've gotten in touch because I don't like premonitions. When are they ever good? Oh, we got some other comments, man. Life is good, family. Trying to do my best to stay safe. We just read these books. Come catch us on Tuesday too, man, when we do some live energy readings and we'll be talking about some other stuff. So if you're trying to get some direction, you know what I mean, we trying to do some healing. So check it out. Where we at? The cold finally. What time is it? All right, we got a little bit more. The cold finally came in, and it was true. Maybe not the 40 in real numbers that we get used to, but -20 with the cheat of the wind chill factor. Yes, it was cold and our house is cold, but I thrive in the cold. I love to bundle up. Hedda had a few days left for her visit. Pollux bashfully mentioned a longer stay. There is nothing I'd like better, I said. Hedda should stay. He tried to hide his flabbergastedness, but failed. His mouth hung wide open. Nothing's gone wrong, I shrugged. Not an ill or insane word has been spoken. Not only that, but Hedda hadn't badgered Pollux for money or dished out anything but weak sarcasm, which at some point she apologized for. How could I not forgive her? I hoped, however, that she hadn't entirely lost her edge to motherhood. At least she was wearing red tights, black biker shorts, and an old Verkasalt t-shirt and an attenuated plaid flannel. It made me happy that she always wore smoldering black eyeliner, often a shade of bold purple lipstick, and made pin curls with X's of bobby pins and left them in for 3 days. I was reassured by her outfits. They made her other changes seem real, and even more, I helplessly adored everything about her baby. Maybe we'd gone on this way, but then I started worrying. The worrying made me interfere. I began to have thoughts about the father of Hedda's baby. One day when we were having a perfectly nice breakfast, I asked if she'd heard when he was showing up. Pretty soon, I think. Did he give you a date? No, not really. So he's just sort of being a writer. I guess. Wow, you take full time care of his baby? What the fuck is it to you? I feel it like, God dang, you the police? Had a stinked eye and hit me with the poisonous sneer. She put down her toast and turned away from me, jouncing her baby on the shoulder. One of his eyes squeezed shut. He gave me a piercing stare from the other as he audibly burped. That's my boy, crooned Hedda. She stood up, keeping her back to me, took Jarvis away into her room. My heart plunged. She kicked the door shut behind us, so that was that. I ruined the visit, and just by asking about the baby's father, just by pointing out that she was giving the baby full-time care while the father frittered away his own time somewhere writing what was probably a lousy, self-important novel. What was wrong with me? Why had this blue bolt of concern seized me? Why, even now that I think Hedda needed to eat, why did I meekly sidle towards the slammed door, bearing Hedda's toast on the plate? And why did I give a pathetic little knock and say, in a ragged tone, I'm sorry, here's your toast? And why did I walk away without flinging the toast at the door when from the inside Hedda shouted, fuck off, you old sow? Why? Because I guess I love Hedda, and she's enraptured by a baby. I would do anything to hold him. And here I'd gone and wrecked my chances by asking the wrong question. And this has occurred because doing the wrong thing in general was my nature. I will be Tukey now and forever. Amen. Or at least I will be Tukey for a few days until next year when I could start out as a better person who used diplomacy, tact, and wasn't shadowed by a needy ghost. um, Bonnet and all right, let's see. Okay, we'll knock this out, and that might be it for tonight. That. Where we at? A warm night in January. Turtle Mountaineers are big on New Year's, and we were having an open house at Louise's. The day would be celebrated with meatball soup called boulettes or bullets, and I know that's right, and small bites of fried bread called bangs. If the night was warm, we'd sit around an outside fire. Pollux made the bangs because he knows how to work with hot grease, while I'm an expert on cold grease. Cold grease, okay, I guess that makes sense. Like olive oil and stuff like that. Uh, I brought old Dutch potato chips, the picnic party box, double bags, and the red and white cardboard. Still made me feel rich. Hedda was still using the monosyllable treatment on me, but she'd made chocolate cake with Penstemon, so I didn't care. Soon I was sitting by the fire with a bowl of bullets and bang to dunk in the broth. Behind us, people crammed Louise's creaky house. I was gone for a second helping, but a friend of the store walked over with a crock pot of, excuse me, Avgolemano. Mm, I'm sorry, my favorite. I decided to wolf down the bullets. See, first time she said bullets, now she went back to bullets and follow that crock pot. There was also wild rice on on the inside table. Wild rice soup, wild rice hot dish, wild rice salad, all different sorts of wild rice. Asima sat next to me, her plate heaped with these offerings. She took a bite. The rice and the salad is from a northwest angle. She said critically, Red Lake, how is it? Holds up well, but Fond du Lac rice is nuttier. Fun, I know that. It's funny how I can read some of these words because I lived in Milwaukee. I disagree, said Penstemon. White Earth has the nuttiest white rice. I believe I have the most discriminating palate at this party, said Pollux, whose plate has heaped with 6 kinds of wild rice. I bought the rice and the soup from a guy in Sawyer. Overprocessed, said Penstemon. It's soft, kind of fading into the broth, said Asima. Pollux ate suddenly, deflated. I didn't like to see Pollux challenge. More than that, a wild rice argument can wreck friendships, kill marriages, if allowed to rage. I had to interfere. I meant to calm things down, but I'm crap at de-escalation. You critics are so wrong, I said. I'd call the texture silken. And what kind of experts are you and Pensy anyway? You two will eat anything. Wild rice egg rolls at a powwow. Old grease. I was there. Nothing worse. And even so, the two of you were chowing down. My voice was loud, challenging, and thus inevitably I raised the conversation to a level of an argument. Sad you resort to an ad hominem attack. I take issue with that, said Asima, standing up. I never in my life ate a wild rice egg roll in old grease. Saw you. Pollux nudged my ankle. Then he flung me to the sides, waving a peace sign. Our sign that means you're hot. Let's get on. I grinned, brushed my shoulder. Nothing sticks on me. Later. Moreover, Tukey, said Pensiman, I've seen you eat the old standby many times. Pot of overcooked wild rice, crumbled hamburger, Campbell's cream of chicken. Oh, really? What's wrong with that? I think it's disrespectful to rice, said Asima. I never eat that. However, she paused, thinking it wasn't bad if you used cream of celery. Plus, it's a feast dish so often. What I really disapprove of is patty rice. Oh, tame rice? I guess we all can agree on that. Wait a minute, said Gruen, who had joined the conversation. I believe what you call patty rice, this dark rice you get in the store bag, is very good. Extremely nutty. What's wrong with it? People, let's drop this. I was alarmed by the introduction of patty rice. Next, we get the genetic modifications and line 3 tar stands, pipelines shoved through treaty territory. All hell would break loose and the party would be over. But the argument was already beyond my control. Jackie had entered the fray and insisted that Wisconsin rice was far superior to all. Pollux threw his hands up and said, Canadian, in a scared, straight way. The uproar grew more heated, ranging from false advertising to, yes, theft of wild genome, detailed enumerations of what was wrong with the brown stuff from California that masqueraded as wild rice. Groom wasn't moved by their arguments, and Asima, in an unexpectedly turnaround, declared that not every native had tribal connections, whoa, a ricing license, or could afford the real thing. She called us a bunch of what? Indigenitas. That's funny. She definitely made that word up. Oh, it's funny. I got my Milwaukee shirt on today too, so it's funny. Milwaukee home. Thanks, VZ, if you're watching. And one day when you do watch it, I got it from my friend VZ. And accidentally knocked Pinstamon's plate of rices, mostly eaten, out of her hand. Pinstamon went for Asima, yelling, "Let's duke it out." "My fucking pleasure," said Asima with deadly glare. They squared off. I'd have to pull them apart, but they were both wearing mittens. Asima's wore Hello Kitties and Pins were Spider-Mans. "Meow," said Asima. "I'll web you," said Pin. "Had us cutting the chocolate cake," I said, ending the grudge match. I sat down between Asima and Gruen to eat my piece of cake. It was dense, flourless kind of cake that I love. There was even powdered sugar sifted on top. "She's a sitting duck," said Asima, glancing over at Gruen. "Let's hit Tukey up." She started telling me how she was gathering donations for fabric. She and Gruen were sewing banners to protest the bank investment in Line 3, which meant disaster for wild rice beds in the wetlands and lakes. "So it always comes back to rice," I said, stuffing my cake down in order to get away. "Every world destroying projects disrupt something intimate, tangible, and indigenous," said Asima. "Wild rice just isn't a cultural issue or a delicious niche food. It's a way of talking about human survival." "I'll pony up if you shut up," I said. She grinned and held out a hand. By the time every Okay, shit. By the time everyone was gone except for the diehards, the fire had developed a luscious set of coals, and the dry, dense logs were burning with an excuse me, even radiance, throwing heat. This was the delicious part of sitting by hours-long outdoor fires. When you sat close enough to limit, coals whispering as they crackled, throwing magical heat that wrapped around you, but might scorch your knees. Then you back your chair up. But the temperature was lovely in front of you, but your back was back and ass or ice. That's the truth, for real. There was a constant shuffle of chairs and booted feet. Some of us started talking about travels we'd taken in our late teens and early 20s when our bodies had been more resilient and tougher than we realized. Pollux had driven Hedda and Jarvis home. Now he settled himself again. "Riding the dog," he said. "God awful sometimes, but also interesting. Once there was this lady who sat down next to me. She was wearing a jean jacket, cut off, sexy boots, and a deep brimmed hat. A black veil came down all around her so I couldn't see her face. The landscape got boring, so we started to talk. After a while, she told me she was a movie star traveling incognito. I asked her why she wasn't riding in a jet. She said that she was gathering material for a movie part. I asked about the part. She told me she was doing a remake of Midnight Cowboy, and it would be Midnight Cowgirl. I asked her the name, and she lifted a veil. By golly, it was her. Who? Kim Basinger. Basinger. She was. I can't describe it. I can't seem to say it. I watched her old movies. She was deliriously beautiful. She was wearing a huge puffer coat down to her knees and a thick beanie, cream muclucs. Pollux leaned forward. She was hard to look at. How so? I asked. It was like the sun got in my eyes, blindingly beautiful. Then, maybe, said Pollux, but at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted her to be. She couldn't go anywhere without people staring at her. I knew the feeling. Sometimes I felt the signal of admiration for the out and out nerve of my presentation, though when I wished I was invisible. That movie wasn't made, was it? I never heard of it, said Penn. Maybe the backers pulled out, said Pollux. I kept waiting to see the movie. I hope she wasn't playing Ratso. Of course she wasn't playing Ratso, said Jackie. She was wrapped in a plaid wool blanket, wearing a knit hat with a pom-pom and drinking hot cider. Kim could only be the cowboy, John Voight character. Anyway, good story. Where'd she get off? I got off first. She was going all the way across country. I guess she made it. I would have heard something happen, I suppose, but there was something otherworldly about her. Jack and I exchanged a glance over Pollock, saying otherworldly. What could that mean? We shrugged in wordless agreement. Let Pollux have his fantasy. Riding a bus has really been useful to me in terms of sleep, said Louise. You know how intolerable it is, how awful you feel after a night or two of sitting up to sleep on a bus. You feel your feet prickle, yeah, and the back agony. Everything hurts, said Pollux. That's what I think when I that's what I think about when I can't sleep. How desperately I want to stretch out on the floor in the middle of the aisle. I would not cared how gross it was. Nothing. I'd have done anything just to stretch out. After I think about how cramped and desperate I was back then, I'd usually fall asleep. I was about to say in my usual Tookie way, at least you had a bed to go home to. But then I realized that in fact, I had slept in some fabulous beds in my life. I considered making my favorite beds the next topic of conversation, but I didn't for obvious reasons. We were entering that lucid buzz of weariness when the wine has worn off and we had perhaps dozed a bit and started awake. Been there, done that. There is something to me that aches to do the wrong thing, said Louise. Her voice was muffled by a knitted shawl across her face. That's what's being so very good as a child can do to a person. I almost always resist, but I understand when other people don't. The urge is very strong. I have a different urge, said Penstemon. I don't like heights because I'm instantly seized by the urge to leap. Call of the void. Her voice was fake wise. She nodded at Asima. That's why. Jacket hadn't given me a dictionary for nothing. I spoke up. There's a word for your impulse, Louise. Kadhokes? Uh, I said to her, the urge to do something somewhat wrong. Not something unspeakable or horrific, just something you know is a bad idea, like eating patty rice, apparently, said Groom. There must be malady related to Louise's other afflictions, said Asima, looking at her phone. I've got it. An unbearable need to write. Lots of people have it. I don't, said Jackie. By the way, everybody, Tukey's right. The whole building is haunted. I was working in the back the other day and I heard some scratching. Too regular to be a rodent. So I sat in the confessional after the store closed the other night and I wanted to see if Flora would visit. I was subtly horrified by the thought. My voice came out low and creaky. What happened? Did she? There were noises outside the box, scratching, skittering, probably mice. Then I heard voices, but they were loud and I could tell they were arguing about wine. Of course, the restaurant's wine cellar is right below. Of course, after the voices stopped, a cold breeze came from nowhere and I felt the touch of a spectral hand. God damn it, Jackie. Sorry, you know I believe you. I snapped a few sticks in my hand and hurled them into the fire. Pollock stretched. I'll be going back to the party now, he said. Although the party was over, he ambled off. I knew he was going to take care of the leftovers by devouring the dishes he liked best. Almost everyone, most everyone else followed him. I won't tolerate talking ghosts and supernatural business, will he? Said Jackie. He said otherworldly, so he's on guard against himself. I said he won't talk about that stuff, but he'll talk about the next life. He's setting up one for the both of us. You've got a good husband. How does he go about setting up? He's pretty much uses songs and stories, maybe some work with pipes and feathers. He's sort of a spiritual carpenter. I poked the fire with a stick, set my stick ablaze, tapped the sparks off, let it burn. When my stick got too short, I found another stick and started over. I edged too far from away from the table. Excuse me. I edged too far away from the coals, and I was cold to the bone, becoming miserable. Jack's children had grown up to be kind of successful and reasonably happy, so I thought of her as a source of maternal knowledge. I edged closer to the fire, put a blanket on my knees, and prepared to interrogate my teacher. In your experience, can becoming a mother change a person from a monster into a human being? Jackie opened her mouth, uttered a syllable, then she shut her mouth and frowned. At last she spoke. I assume you're talking about Hedda. I indicated this was true. Jackie tipped her head from side to side. I suppose these feelings are new to Hedda. I suppose they seem transformative. At first, she was shockingly agreeable. A new baby had a powerful effect on, excuse me, a new baby had a powerful effect on the character, but so does a toddler. A child, a preteen, a teenager, a mother changes with every stage. Some stages are within a mother's skill set. Some stages are like being told to scale off a cliff using a rope attached to nothing. As usual, I screwed up though. Now she won't talk to me. How do I make it right with Hedda? I described the short exchange over George's father and how Hedda slammed me out. There was a long silence. I thought Jackie hadn't heard me or paid attention. I've been in this dimension so many times, she finally said. What do you mean, reincarnation or something like that? No, I mean your quandary, an iffy dimension where I'm afraid or worried about one of my daughters, like you, where I cross a boundary and then she gets pissed. So you saying what happened is normal? I think so. It's easy to overstep out of worry and it can infuriate them, though sometimes they understand later on. I was struck with the thought that nobody besides Pollux would be willing to violate a boundary and risk my anger in order to help me. I was told I told that to Jackie. She told me she already had long ago when she sent me the dictionary. That crossed the boundary? You could have taken it the wrong way. As a prod to become more literate or something. Anyway, it's a teacher thing. Also a mom thing. What about your mom? I mainly dealt in your aunties. You never talk about your mom. And you never talk about your father. Because he's totally absent. And while I was up in tribal school, my mother was down in the cities. We went back and forth. She wasn't snoopy or controlling or demanding. She was hardly ever super angry or mean. What then? She wasn't anything. She was always working on her own thing, which was being wasted. She treated me like an adult. I don't know what that was. You heard that? She treated me like what was that? She treated me like an adult as soon as I could shit in the right place and get my own food. She tolerated my shortcomings and goings because she wasn't half there anyway. Someone else, usually one of my aunts or a neighbor, got me clothing and put me in school. You helped me after a while, but I wandered around a lot. I know you did, said Jackie. I don't even know where you got the name Tukey. I didn't realize that is your nickname. Vibrating? There's that phone. Where we at? I didn't realize that's your nickname, said Jackie. What's your real name? I sifted around, got my feet close to the fire, turned to look at the door, hoping Pollux would come out and save me. I can't remember. Maybe I saw it on some official forms a few times, I said, but do you know I blocked it out? I guess that's weird. Wait, how'd you register for school? How come I didn't notice? I don't get how you've gotten away with being Tukey. Now, Jackie was using her teacher voice. I went to school my whole life as Tukey. I got my Tukey driver's license. My tribal ID says Tukey. I used my card to get my passport, which I got when I was really young because one of the teachers got me into a summer program in France. But of course, I was too stoned to go. Then my old passport was a thing I used to get my new passport. And at some point, I memorized my social security number and had lost my card anyway. So, well, I'm just Tukey. But you have a last name, Jackie said. It must be on your paychecks. I have direct deposit. You think I'd remember? Want me to look up your real name? No. Jackie was now staring hard at me from under a pom-pom. I really can't believe this. Just Tookie? Don't you know anything about your real name? My mother named me for somebody who helped her out. Really saved her, I guess, when she was pregnant. That's what I've heard. And your mother? Is she alive? I don't know if she was ever truly alive, I said. And now she's definitely dead. All right, well, we'll pick up. Oh, no, I'll finish this page. I was troubled by the last part of the conversation, and Pollux was inside listening to a scene. I could hear her blackbird in a high, sweet voice. I left and I took a detour down to the frozen lake, nearly sleepwalking in the dark cold. I revisited the first part of the conversation about failing as a mom, and it helped switch my gears. I understood that I was doing the opposite of what my mother did, totally ignoring me. I was intruding. Hedda hated it. I was challenging her autonomy in some respects. She obviously knew that she was acting as a single mother. I was noticing and interfering. I was being a mom. Only I was doing it as a buffalo mom, banging my head on my calf, trying to stomp out a place for her, butting her along whatever path I thought would keep her safe or get her somewhere. I was I was being awkward and aggravating. I had no finesse, but I had love. Always had. I loved Hedda and her baby. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the people I loved. I'd been in love once in prison. Before that, I loved Danae so much I'd stolen her dead boyfriend for her. And as for Pollux, whom I loved more than anybody in the world, I had built him a life. I was there when he needed me and let him go when he had to go. I worked hard to make things normal and comfortable and bright. I had even been known to make him hot cocoa, but I didn't put in those tiny marshmallows. I didn't mom him. I rarely went over a certain line, and he didn't either. Oh, he fussed sometimes and worried and maybe got so mad that it come to the tip of his tongue. He knew. He'd arrested me. He married me, and I knew that he knew, but he never said my real name. All right. We'll pick up next week. I appreciate you people for joining me for Book Club Thursday. So hope I can catch y'all on Tuesdays where we're doing the live readings. If not, come back for Thursday. And it was a blast. Hope you like the new light. And see you next week, people. We out.